expected to achieve certain key strategic objectives through the implementation of projects using various subsidy instruments. Those include individual, project-linked, institutional, consolidation, relocation, disaster management, social housing, rectification, provision of social and economic facilities, as well as rural housing. It consists of 5 sub-programs: administration, financial interventions, incremental interventions, social and rental interventions, and rural interventions. Program 4, I spoke to earlier, deals with the ex-Natal Provincial Administration and Own Affairs housing stock and includes residential properties, vacant land, and other non-residential properties that belong to the KZN Housing Fund. In terms of its mandate, all properties will on a progressive basis be transferred to either individual occupants in terms of the enhanced extended discount benefit scheme or be disposed of in the open market. Some of these properties will also be devolved to municipalities, and where transfer is not possible, the stock will remain rental stock in the Human Settlements Housing Fund, which was expected to be disestablished in March 2025. Once this does happen, the date has passed, but it hasn't actually happened. But once it does get finalized, all assets and liabilities will be transferred to the vote. It has 3 sub-programs: administration, sale and transfer of housing properties, and housing property maintenance. On slide 11, the priority areas for the department for the 24-29 medium-term development plan, which is the guiding framework for the department to implement the priorities and programs to progressively achieve the objectives of government over the 5-year period. In response to the priorities for the 7th administration, we've aligned our programs and interventions to the 3 strategic priorities, namely, firstly, Priority 1 is inclusive growth and job creation. Priority 2, reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living. And Priority 3, a capable, ethical, and developmental state. We've aligned our strategic priorities as well as the sector priorities in accordance with the provincial competencies through the implementation of program interventions. These include, firstly, to invest within 22 priority development areas, or PDAs as we call them, implementation of a comprehensive provincial human settlements plan to support the development of human settlements through improved living conditions through the implementation of the informal settlements program, which is the UISP as we call it. We move on to slide 12, the implementation of the human settlements program, such as residential development program, rural housing program to support the increased access to adequate housing, implementation of the first home finance program that offers a range of interventions to households in the affordable rental market, increased access to title deeds for households, and implementation of the service sites program. For the 25-26 financial year, the planning initiatives are aligned to support the priorities of the 7th administration and are synchronized with the key strategic interventions of the 24-29 MTDP. I'm now moving on to the evaluation of the budget. On slide 14, the allocation for the 25-26 MTF period. In terms of our Human Settlements Development Grant, our budget is 2.599 billion. 25-26 is 2.633 billion, and 27-28 is 2.752 billion. In terms of the Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant, our budget for the 25-26 year is 508.8 million. It's been reduced to 170.9 million and 178.7 million in the outer years. The EPWP grant is 5.243 million rand. It's still to be determined for the outer years. Our conditional grant allocation, therefore, in total is 3.113 billion, 2.804 billion, and 2.930 billion. Our provincial allocation for equitable share is 236.3 million, then 436.3 million, 455.9 million, and 476.5 million. Our full allocation over the MTF period, is 3.549, 3.260, and 3.407 billion. A summary of receipts and financing on page 15. Our equitable share budget for the current the year that's just passed, 24-25, was 444.3 million. It's now 436.3, then 455.9, and 476 in the outer years. The Human Settlements Development Grant is 2,871 for the 24-25 year. The 25-26 is 2,599 billion, then 2,633 billion and 2,752 billion. The Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant was 597 in the past year. It's going to be 508, 170 and 178. EPWP grant was 6,331 million, then 5,243 million. Outer years still to be determined. The total allocation is 3,919 billion for 24-25. It's 3,549, then 3,260 and 3,407 in the outer years. In terms of allocation per program, our administration program, Program 1, 24-25 was 291 million, then it's 283, 296 and 309 million. Program 2, Housing Needs Research and Planning, was 19,3, it's 21,1, then 22,8 and 23,8. Housing Development is 3,458 for 24-25, it's 3,054 billion in 25-26, then 2,792 and 2,939. Housing Assets Management was 150,7 million. It will be 190,3 million in 25-26, then 148,6, 134,6 in the outer years. The total allocation remains the same. The analysis of receipts and financing, just to repeat, the allocation for the year is to 2,599 billion and 508 for the Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant. That's just a repeat of what I've said. So slide 18 talks to the equitable share allocation. Administration is 291,1 for 24-25, 283,9, 296,3 and 309,7. Program 2 is 19,3 in 24-25. It's 21,1, 22,8, 23,8 in the outer years. Program 3, Housing Development, was 99,7, 3 and 309,7. Program Rental Interventions was 256. It's now 105,7, 230,7 and 262,2. Rural Interventions was 1,364 billion. It's now 1,350 billion, 1,273 and 1,350 billion in the outer years. The next slide, 21, talks to the allocations of the various programs within each of the districts. Chairperson, I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but they are all explained on page 21 of the presentation, and it talks to each of the districts, the allocations over the year. Point out that they're based on the business plan and the readiness of the projects within each of the districts, and I'll talk to that further as we go on in the presentation. On the slide 22, the Financial Interventions sub-program provides for financial support to procure services relating to housing delivery. The instruments that we use include, amongst others, the Finance-Linked Individual Subsidy Program, which is FLISP in short, the operational costs for accredited municipalities, National Home Builders Registration Council enrollment fees for all our projects, the operational capital budget, the management of catalytic projects, the implementation of the anti-land invasion strategy. The department of both of our conditional grants, which is Human Settlements Development Grant and the Informal Settlements Upgrading Grant, to fund operational capital budget, which amounts to 129,9 million for the Human Settlements Development Grant and 25,4 for the Informal Settlements Grant. Those funds are utilized to strengthen our ability to actually improve our progress utilizing various instruments and support functions so that we can continue to progress in performing our conditional grant work. The Incremental Intervention Sub-Program contributes to the achievement of the Outcome 8 targets and ensures sustainable human settlements delivery. The sub-program Social and Rental Interventions provides for the Community Residential Program, which aims to create sustainable, affordable, and secure rental housing options for households. The sub-program Rental Interventions deals with the subsidy instrument for rural housing. I just want to confirm that the budget is informed by development programs of the projects, both at planning and implementation stage, as agreed between the department, municipalities, and the implementing agents. There's an decreasing trend on both our grant allocations due to budget cuts that were implemented over the MTF period to the value of 491 million rand in 24-25 656.4 million in 25-26 and 960 million in the 26-27 years. This has then resulted in the budget for planning for new projects being limited. Chairperson, as I mentioned, the next chapter talks to the delivery instruments that we use, and it relates mainly to the APP and the targets there, so I will skip that, but they are available should there be a need for us to discuss that any further. But I will then move on to slide 33, which talks to the business plan and monitoring mechanisms, as was requested specifically in the letter for us to talk to. The National Human Settlements has assessed and approved the 25-26 business plan as per the Division of DORA Act. The targets in the annual performance plan is aligned to the Human Settlements Development Budget allocation. The monitoring mechanisms utilized to monitor and ensure that the business plans are met are: we do regular meetings with the implementing agents and service providers. There's consultation meetings with mayors, councillors, and officials within the municipalities. There's monthly MANCO and budget expenditure meetings to monitor expenditure against performance, identifying challenges and implementing interventions. Identification of all non-performing projects and the shifting of funds to performing projects takes place on a regular basis. The submission of monthly DORA reports to the National Human Settlements and Treasury, quarterly performance review meetings at National Human Settlements, and expenditure and performance of the Human Settlements Development Grant. A specific meeting is held on a quarterly basis. On slide 35, Chair, we want to inform the committee that we've sought and received a total of 123 million from the National Department of Higher Education and Training through the National Skills Fund for skills development and training of 2,000 learners in all districts of the province, including the eThekwini Metro. The funding has been approved for various learning areas, namely community building, house building, construction, health and safety, supervision of construction processes, construction contracting. The department has already recruited 1,000 learners, and classes have started on 2 of the learning areas. On the next slide, 36, a total of 85.199 million was projected to be received. 46 million was received. There were delays in terms of the recruitment and selection processes and the finalization of registration of learners with the construction education and training CETA. We've now managed to resolve these matters, and progress has been made on the program. At the end of March, 46 million was transferred to the department, and so far 28.8 million was spent in respect of the learning areas as mentioned above. The remainder of the 76.559 million is expected to be received over the 25-26 MTF. However, it's not included in our tables because of the uncertainty of the timing and the amount, as it is based on milestones achieved in the skills development program, but they will be included over the MTF as and when they're finalized. In terms of Chapter 6, page 38, we're just confirming that we've attached a list of all our, and as an annexure, that depicts our capital and infrastructure expenditure per intervention to be incurred over the MTF period, and that outputs are monitored on a monthly basis. In terms of our attachments, we've attached two annexures. The first one is major capital infrastructure. It ties in exactly to the budget, and it also deals with the targets for over the MTF period for all of the instruments. We deal with financial interventions, incremental interventions, and social and rental interventions, and rural interventions. Chairperson, that spreadsheet is available, and it gives the detail of the breakdown of the entire budget into those instruments. The next attachment talks to the actual business plan allocation for the Human Settlements Development Grant. This one talks to each of the districts, and then talks to the milestones we expected to achieve for sites and units, professional fees that have been budgeted, the annual budget over the MTF and the 2 outer years. Chairperson, I'm not going to go through all of the detail, but they are available for the committee. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Unless there is anything HOD on your side, you are comfortable. Thank you so much for the presentation. Honorable members, here is the budget, human settlement. Honorable Nair, Honorable de Klerk, any other takers? Honorable CQ. That's all. On the virtual platform, there is none at the point. Thank you so much, Honorable Nair.
Thank you, Chairperson. We do understand that there are reallocation of funding from non-performing to performing projects. And I've just heard that you do it on a monthly basis. I just want to know, what is the criteria that you are using to decide on which projects you are taking away funding and reprioritizing to other projects? And secondly, how is the department addressing the risk of underperforming or fund mismanagement by municipalities or service providers or the implementing agents that are working on behalf of those municipalities? We do understand that whenever projects are delayed, it bumps up the cost of producing an average house because of the rising cost of building material. So it would be interesting to understand how you are dealing with this particular problem so that it is not a cost to your department where you find yourselves producing fewer houses because of the rising cost of building material that you now have to spend on because of mismanagement of funds. Thanks, Chair.
Robert de Klerk.
Thank you, Chair. My questions is similar to the previous department. I see in your spending analysis, you explained that the unfunded wage increase, which is a problem with many of the departments, and that it actually has been worse because of the 23-24 wage agreement. And it became so bad that there's a moratorium on filling of posts so that you can actually have enough money to deal with the programs. So my question is, and it's technical, but it's important. Knowing that you don't have money to cover the unfunded mandate that comes from national, knowing that you are not going to fill vacant post, that you budget for that saving under still salaries for those unfunded, that you budget for those vacant posts, or that you stated clearly that you're not budgeting for the vacant posts because there is a moratorium and you appropriating that money to compensation of the existing members or officials. You understand? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, because one cannot budget for an organogram knowing that you're not going to fill it, because then that's misleading. So that is the one thing. How many of these posts are vacant that there is now a moratorium on that, and how will that impact on service delivery? Because it is my information from the committee, your portfolio committee, that there is a huge number of unfinished projects and projects where there is a problem and it's not proceeding according to plan. Now, it seems to me that this is a reoccurring thing. It happens quite over a period of time. So my question is the same as with transport. How did you budget for that? Because you know, every year, when you did this budget, you knew there is going to be, and there is projects that's not finalized. How do you appropriate money to deal with that? because that's not in the normal budget. So what I'm trying to say is one cannot argue that it's unforeseen, because it's not. It's there year in and year out. So one must then budget for actual problems that's going to arise. Or am I wrong? You just don't budget for it, and then you have environments and you take from this program and you pay that program, knowing very well that there is huge numbers that projects that's not finalized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Seku.
Honorable Chair, greetings to the Honorable MEC, HOD. We welcome you. It's the first time to be with you in the Finance Portfolio Committee with your entourage. Honorable Chair, I think Honorable de Klerk has covered me. You remember that I posed this question when we were with Treasury, because the concern is not really with the department, it's not the make of the department, that the 2024 wage agreement has brought this challenge to the department. But what one wanted to check is whether these critical vacant posts, are they budgeted for, or were they budgeted for? Because now there is moratorium. We want to check whether moratorium prevented the budget of these critical posts. Because to us, as members, we are having a concern, I don't know where the budget can be found, because even Treasurer said they don't have, the budget to assist the department, because if these critical vacant posts are not filled, it will lead to the challenge of the capacity of the department to proceed with the good work that they are doing in regard to building the houses for indigent communities. If really they don't fill the critical post, they will come back and will say, why didn't you spend the money? But we know exactly that, they are having that particular challenge in regard to the critical posts that were imposed by this 2024 wage agreement, as well as the cutting that has been taken place in the budget. The question that one was having was to say, is there any plan that the department have to try, to fill in that gap that is there as a regard of the 2024 wage agreement, or whether they will rob Peter to pay Paul, like they were doing, because I think there is nothing they can do. They don't have money. But to budget on the organogram to say this is what is going to take place and it doesn't take place, I think we agree that it can be misleading to us as members and the community. In regard to the delays, because I know that there are delays in some projects that are not as a result of the rains or those things that are accepted that they can make delay in the project, but the delays that are caused by the contractors that are given the task. Is there any, because a colleague have raised this thing, that we raised the issue of escalation in regard to the material and so forth. Is there any escape clause in the contract of those contractors to say if they delay, I think they are going to incur those escalating costs if they fail themselves, not as a result of the natural disasters or whatever. I want to check that on the contract. Thank you. But we really appreciate the good work that the department is doing, because we got, when I was debating, I indicated of 100 million that the department received because of pushing, the implementation on the budget they are giving by national, and then they were compensated on that. We are saying, in order for you to keep the good work that we are doing, maybe the critical posts, some of the critical posts that maybe can disadvantage the department to really improve to the good work that they are doing, maybe if they can be filled, but we don't know where those funds will come from, because everybody is saying treasurer, if treasurer is putting up the hands, we have nothing. I don't know what can we say to the department where they can get those funds. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Seme.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to the MEC, the honorable members, and the department. Thank you very much for the presentation. My question is just only on the historic budget cuts that still exist on the department baseline. How will the department manage to carry through this impact? Thank you so much.
Of course, the MEC in your capable hands with your team.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me start thanking the members for their questions, which are key and critical for us, and especially in the oversight formula. Chair, I think I must just be detailed a bit on the cycle of human settlement so that it's understood, and I will try to simplify some of the matters, how this process. Let's say, for instance, I'm not going to use practical project by being hypothetical, deliberate, that you'll go into a district municipality, into a certain ward, and commit 500 units. Probably the year is 2019. I'm going to do these houses. You commit to them because the budget is existing at that time, and the budget allows you for that 2018, 2019, or 2019, 2020. In the same year, National Treasury is going to tell you that we cut the budget, and multi-year, you might even lose. This department probably lost 3.5 billion. So I'm trying, this is a very tedious process that you just have to understand. At the time of implementation and allocating the project, it was practical that we could build 1,000 units. The current reality of what has been allocated to us is that probably can only build 300. This is why you'll find that in some instances we'll start a project, but because we must also balance skewed equations in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Like, for instance, we can't build with what we have. This 3 billion that we have, separated into district. Let's say, for instance, at Herikwala, if you have allocated probably 450 million, at Teguini, as you know, because it's a metro, more. In the same year and the same wavelength, you'll be expected to do and go extra mile with the metro for different reasons. As you know, TA, CRUs come in the same temperament. So I thought, Chair, it is always critical that I must just give this background as to why the department currently, we have just even on the projections, what we used to have. We'll find, for instance, that at a pace, we are even going to tell the implementing agent that what we have in our coffers now, we could only afford that you must build at least 20 units a month. Otherwise, we are not going to give you the payment. So that those are the realities. And the members are raising a sharp matter on the issue of COEs. It's unfortunate that the wage bill gap and the wage matter, the bill process, remain a fundamental matter that has to do with National Treasury. It is beyond our control. I indicated earlier on that as this province in KwaZulu-Natal, when we appropriate 157 billion, you might find that the realistic scale for a backlog of Department of Human Settlements probably will need for the next 10 years, if the backlog, you want almost 10 billion, The reality is that from Treasury, you're only going to get this 3.5 billion next year, 3.8. It is decreasing in some instances as much as we are doing well in spending our grant. It's the reality that we thought that it is always critical. And I must also highlight, Chair, the cycle of Department of Transport, of Department of Human Settlements. At the face value, you'll think that it is easy to chop and change. Our structure, you'll find that the project that is going to be implemented by 2027, 28 is in the business plan phase as we speak. We are designing, building EIAs and all those things. In fact, what we have just decided recently is that we are no longer going to process the business plan if there is no money, because you go to a certain area and announce it, stakeholders will say that you've committed to this. We are no longer going to. It's something that is very tedious in understanding it, because we do hope that some of the targets are only going to be taking place if the CPI does not affect us or if there is more collection from treasurer. So that is why we do some of these things. I thought that I must give this background before the department go into finer details of certain projects that you are checking at this point in time. So you'll see a lot of backlogs, but we'll be proceeding. And in some instances, as I've already highlighted, that we used to have what is OSS. MEC Chair will understand that the cabinet through OSS is going to go and commit at the Madlangeni that we are going to build probably these 7, because they
came here, launched this project. Where is the delivery? What then we do as a department to manage social issues? MEC only launches. IA has been appointed. His budget appointed, his budget. When we go to a particular area, MEC will introduce a contractor so that the following day there will be work on the ground. Secondly, Honorable Chair, I must say, as a department, we do not have a problem of underspending, but we have a problem of underspending. But we have a problem of managing overspending, even on capital projects. So we always say we have a better problem. We have a better problem because we are managing overspending. Now, in terms of reprioritization, on a monthly basis, we assess or we manage the contractor performance, because all projects or all contractors are expected to submit to us Gantt charts in terms of telling us in this month how many houses will be delivered, even to the level of a cash flow per project. Now, as we do on a monthly basis, that management, if then we realize that that particular contractor is not performing, or that we'll then take a decision as management to say we are going then to reprioritize money from this project to another. We start with a local, let's say in a local municipality, we'll then reallocate money within a local municipality or within a district before we move out of the district. So that is the criteria that we use. It is based on performance of implementing agents in terms of how do we allocate money. But I want to link this question to exit clause. To say, as we are managing on a monthly basis, we are managing our contractors or implementing agent, if then they can't perform according to the Gantt chart submitted to us, we give them letters building our case to say, remedy, give to us a remedial action plan. Then if they fail, we then terminate. We just terminate. It's easy to do so that we can appoint another implementing agent instead of disadvantaging communities because of a contractor or implementing agent. Now, with regards to a filling of a vacant post and versus the budget, we only budget for those vacant posts that will be filled in a particular year. For example, this financial year, we'll only fill only 2 posts that will be filled in this financial year. Only 2 chief director posts, is Chief Director Corporate Services and Chief Director Integrated Planning. So we have made budget provision for those 2 vacant critical positions. We do not budget for something that will not be filled during the course of the financial year. We may not be in a position now to give you exact number, but we are not in a position to give you the exact number of a vacant post. I must say as well, while we cannot underestimate the impact of non-filling of posts, delivering the mandate, delivering the mandate, using legally that we have. I will allow other colleagues to take other questions through you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to add quickly to the issue around the moratorium on filling posts. HOD has already responded to that, but just to confirm, we do not budget for posts that we will not be filling. We are also busy re-looking at the organogram right now, and we are trying to balance our staff that we utilize for the support side versus the staff that are used for the contracting side, for example, for all our projects, because there was a bit of an imbalance there. And so the vacant posts that we are not filling on the equitable share budget, a lot of those will belong to support staff, where we're trying to rationalize because we really need to scale down in terms of support staff. At the same time, we utilize our operations capital budget to capacitate the built environment specialists. So we utilize that funding, which is 5% of our budget of the grant. We are allowed to utilize that for assisting us to work on projects. So that has been able to assist us now to make sure that we don't, stagger in terms of our support to the projects, because like HOD said, they are managed by built environment specialists on the outside through contractors and implementing agents, but the internal staff we utilize from that budget to be able to support the programs. So we are trying the best way we can to manage with the reduced number of staff at this stage. Just to say, our equitable share budget is 400 million, and our budget for conditional grant is 3 billion. So it's a very small portion. It's not, it doesn't actually match the value of our conditional grant. So that is where the challenge is. So that is why we have to utilize our...
Indeed, the project is at a stage of readiness that is acceptable. That is one. 2, we have a platform that we call 10 by 10, where the management of the department and the implementing agents of the situation of project performance and a resort to using the provincial department to implement that project as a developer as part of risk mitigation strategies. I'll hand over to Mr. Makakole if there's any addition for him.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning once again to MEC and the honorable members. Maybe the question that I will tackle, Chairperson, is that of the criteria in reallocating the funding. What maybe we can explain to the members is that we've got a set target of units that needs to be built per year. And when we say a project was allocated a particular budget in that financial year and out of issues beyond its control that it is unable to perform, then we take the similar fund and fund the other construction which are also in the business plan, and that is how we then control the issue, or that is the criteria we use, so that we still can get the same number of units. I think the issue of escalation, as the department, we get the there's something called subsidy quantum by the National Department, and the subsidy quantum tells us as to how much we are going to use to build a house, and all our houses that we are building are exactly linked to that subsidy quantum. I submit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much for the responses. And of course, honorable members, we can still have follow-ups, but I think they were well covered, all of the responses. Thank you so much. MEC, we of course will give you to do your just closing remarks before we can then close the meeting.
No, thank you so much once again, Chair, for the collegiality that we are enjoying. We do encourage members in your capacity just that we grill and deal with us whenever there are matters on oversight, but compliment us because we are one government, and on almost all the districts in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, there are projects done by human settlements, and in some instances, as I've already highlighted, that you'll come across with bottleneck, the project will be blocked, but the majority of the projects are taking place on the ground, and it's a new phenomenon that you will see a lot of activity because we have started a new financial year. It means that in terms of the cash flow, we are better these days. So it's something that we could pride ourselves that at least we're able to spend what was allocated to us. And I'm sure every said that in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, human settlement is the pinnacle or the leader because of how we spend our grant funding. We've been allocated more. We still have the backlog, Honorable Chair. I could not just deceive the portfolio committee in terms of what transpired during the floods. The flood victims, it's something that remains a thorny issue for these departments, and by all means we want to push, and at least we are getting closer to winter now. We are just going because the global warming is real, and we encourage even the members of the portfolio committee that when we issue these warnings, in particular level 5, let us adhere and share as we could, so that many people are going to benefit the streams and all those things. And the hymn book is saying that on the wetlands next to river frontage, on that area where there is a lightning, people must never build around those areas anymore because it is always going to cause a lot of havoc. Even low-lying bridges, people must not cross on those whenever there is rain. And it's something that we are glad that at least as legislators, we are able to identify and do that whenever, even when we do TLTP, it's something that we must drum up until everyone adheres. In conclusion, Chair, I always use this scenario, which is painful. In California, they lost almost 10,000 houses, but there were no fatalities, because they could adhere to all the rules. When the government said that people must move, the evacuation plan is presented, everyone adhered to that, and in that one or in that instances, we're able to save lives. In some scenarios, we will advise people, but unfortunately, they won't move on time, and in some instances, it does cause fatalities. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable MEC and your team. We appreciate and we are hopeful that as we continue, we are going to be working together in ensuring service delivery to the people of the province. Thank you so much. You will then close that. Of course, we are still continuing as the portfolio committee, but you will then be allowed to go on leave. Thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Honorable members, we'll take 10-minute break. We'll indicate as we reconvene. Thank you.